Chris Hedges, The Death of the Liberal Class. Prepare to delve into the thought-provoking world of The Death of the Liberal Class by Chris Hedges, a captivating book that addresses the key issues and internal problems of the declining liberal class in America. The book highlights the failure of the liberal class to protect the rights of ordinary people amidst dwindling wages, flawed financial regulations, and the shift of power from public institutions to big corporations. Hedges unveils the internal struggles that have paved the way for the disappearance of critical and unconventional thinkers, making it harder for the liberal class to adapt and solve societal issues. Discover the impact of commercial interests on various institutions, the erosion of liberal values, and the potential consequences of a future without a functioning liberal class.
The fading liberal class. American society is split into conservatives advocating for business and limited government, and liberals supporting everyday people's rights and welfare. Recently, the liberal class has faced a decline in power and influence, as shown by their inability to fulfill their objectives. Workers suffer from low wages and job outsourcing, and the government has not acted effectively to protect them. Ernest Logan Bell, an unemployed Marine Corps veteran, serves as an example of the struggles faced by working-class Americans who feel alienated and abandoned. Additionally, the failure of regulators and liberal politicians to tackle financial speculation puts working families' savings at risk. Despite their stated goals, the liberal class has fallen short in safeguarding the public from exploitation and neglect, with further problems discussed beyond this brief analysis. Silencing unconventional liberal voices. The liberal class has not only failed to deliver on its promises, but it has also diminished its impact by deliberately excluding radical and unconventional thinkers. Dissidents who can identify social problems and propose innovative solutions are vital for a political group's success. However, the American liberal class has systematically ousted intellects who deviated from the norm, depriving itself of opportunities for growth and reform. Instances of blacklisting and exclusion have led to a straight-laced and increasingly irrelevant liberal class that struggles to connect with the public. A thriving political class relies on the presence of dissenters and radicals to identify social problems and propose solutions. Without bold, innovative thinkers, a group loses its ability to maintain influence and remain relevant. However, America's liberal class has fallen prey to the exclusion of crucial dissenting voices. The process of ejecting striking minds from liberal circles occurred in stages, as nonconformists faced expulsion for expressing controversial opinions. For instance, in 1956, liberals blacklisted thinkers who criticized the government, labeling them communists, which led to their removal from media and academic positions. Sheldon Volin, a political philosopher who critiqued corporate power, suffered character assassination by being branded a communist sympathizer, making it impossible to find a publisher for his writings. The liberal class often implemented such dismissals discreetly. Common punishments included withdrawing support, which resulted in a loss of opportunities in publishing, broadcasting, and public speaking. Consequently, individuals faced a grim future with limited prospects for earning a living. The author, who experienced exclusion from the New York Times for criticizing the United States foreign policy, underscores how the liberal class penalizes its own dissenters. By expelling those who think critically and challenge convention, the liberal class cripples its ability to reform, evolve, and learn from mistakes. As a result, the decline of the liberal class and its waning influence are palpable in today's political landscape. Loss of liberal values in arts. Historically, institutions such as universities, media outlets, and the U.S. Democratic Party played a crucial role in fostering liberal ideas and values. The arts, particularly, were a battleground for exploring freedom of expression, equal rights, and meaningful social commentary. Artists like Alan McGee could engage in social critique and challenge prevailing norms with the support of educational institutions. Nowadays, political expression has largely vanished from arts as the focus has shifted toward commercialization. Wealthy patrons who once supported artists now prioritize aesthetic appeal over critical messages, driving artists to mass-produce art for sales rather than meaningful impact. This shift signifies the decline of liberal values and the rise of commodification in the contemporary art world. Media's corporate takeover. The infiltration of financial interests into once independent institutions has led to a shift in focus, notably in the media. In 1910, over half of U.S. cities had locally owned newspapers, but by 1930, 80% were controlled by large corporations. This corporate ownership now dictates the media's narrative, often sidelining or attacking those whose agendas clash with big business or conservative viewpoints. For instance, politicians opposing war are labeled radicals or accused of treason, and liberal projects receive limited coverage, if any. The 1937 debut of the politically charged musical, The Cradle Will Rock, saw audiences enamored, but the press largely ignored it. Corporate influence reaches beyond the media, tainting numerous institutions and stifling diverse perspectives. Corporate grip on global conflicts. Our world is caught in the grasp of commercial interests, dictating the trajectory of media, arts, and wars. A state of perpetual conflict is maintained by the United States, evident in their routine declarations of war against other nations or conceptual threats. This ongoing state of war has enabled actions that would typically face resistance in society, such as targeted drone strikes on American citizens labeled as terrorists. The gradual transfer of authority from government institutions to private corporations has granted these entities control over foreign policy execution. Private security firms and weapon manufacturers, such as Military Professional Resources Incorporated, manage military operations, often possessing interests that contradict governmental goals. While governments strive to promptly conclude wars, weapon manufacturing corporations flourish in conflict, boosting their profits. As a result, these companies may act aggressively and disseminate misinformation to escalate the perceived necessity for military equipment and spending. The inability of liberal institutions to halt such alarming developments provokes serious concern. The liberal class evolution. The liberal class in the United States thrived from 1800 to 1930. Initially motivated by the promise of a utopian society, liberals believed that advancements in science and technology along with the power of a free market would improve the quality of life for all. However, the relentless faith in these principles led to a detachment from reality, as over time it became apparent that global wealth wasn't distributed equitably and an unrestricted free market could do more harm than good. Unlike their classical liberal predecessors who were receptive to criticism and debate, modern liberals became confined to an unwavering belief in particular institutions, rendering them oblivious to the potential hazards of capitalism. This blind faith took a turn when they started justifying violence in pursuit of their goals, evidenced by President Woodrow Wilson leading the U.S. into World War I. The liberal class's misplaced optimism in globalization and the free market has made it difficult for them to discern the threats posed by unchecked capitalism. Liberalism's unseen failures. While some reasons for liberalism's failure stem from noble intentions to improve society's quality of life, more sinister motives lurk behind the scenes. Wealth accumulation has lured liberals away from their ideals and critiques of the system that gave them riches. Institutions like universities and churches, once bastions of liberal thought, now provide salaries high enough for silence about the injustices they see. Professors at elite colleges may forsake advocating reform when they benefit from the status quo, and labor union leaders are incentivized to tone down critiques of corporate interests in exchange for partnerships and high salaries. Regardless of whether it's due to blind faith, substantial wages, or corporate enticements, the liberal class's failure to shield society from corporate domination raises critical questions about our future. The vital liberal class. A functional liberal class holds immense significance for a society and its democratic framework. Serving as a safeguard against harsh policies, it advocates for workers' rights and prevents complete exploitation. The liberal class, by pushing moderate reforms, thwarts radical movements that could jeopardize a government's stability. It provides an avenue for social betterment without the upheaval that accompanies drastic change. However, when the liberal class fails its citizens, as seen in America's current scenario, it incites widespread disappointment and unrest. Historical evidence, such as the Weimar Republic's collapse in Germany, demonstrates the consequences of a dysfunctional liberal class, which can lead to the empowerment of extremist groups and ultimately, political collapse. The vitality of the liberal class is far-reaching and cannot be underestimated. The collapse of liberalism. The decline of the liberal class has set the stage for a precarious future, characterized by blind capitalism's unfettered market deregulation wreaking havoc on our ecosystem, which is already teetering on the edge. Unchecked industrial growth and consumption have fueled climate change, threatening the conditions necessary for life on Earth. This bleak landscape may give rise to a far-right revolution, mirroring the ascent of Hitler's Nazi Party in response to government weakness in 1920s Germany. One potential remedy lies in restructuring society into small, self-sufficient communities, closely knit and reliant on local resources. The establishment of such groups could foster the emergence of a political system more resistant to corruption by money and wishful thinking.
Upon reaching the end of the book's summary, it becomes abundantly clear that the failure of the liberal class to protect society from corporate domination has led to a grim reality. The diminished influence of the liberal class has exposed the vulnerable working class to exploitation and disenfranchisement. As the summary dives into the depths of America's broken political and social system, it offers a glimpse into the possible consequences of perpetual wars, a corrupted media, and the dampening of meaningful political expression. Ultimately, it is evident that a restructuring of society and the birth of small, self-sufficient communities may be the sole solution to rebuilding a more balanced and harmonious political landscape.